Yes, I had one of my daughters had gotten a new dining room table and said, "Daddy, can you make me some coasters?" And I was thinking about this, and it was a darker table, and I had some red cedar to make coasters with, and I made her 8 coasters. She had asked for 8, but if you look on the next picture, it turns out to be 9. I made an extra one just in case, but they all 9 turned out, so I think I'm gonna present her with all 9. Uh, I did this 4 at a time. I glued 4 1x6s together, round ones, and put them on an end plate on my lathe, and basically just cut one off. I had a story stick and cut the first one off and sawed it off, and then the second one. So it was a little easier to do that on the lathe with chucking up my wood and everything. I also turned the little holder pieces. They're about 1/4 inch in diameter by about 4.5 inches long. And of course, the tricky part was getting the Forstner bit to cut exactly every 90 degrees. So I did that on the drill press. And it's got, I don't think you can see it, but it's got a little recess there in the middle underneath the stacking stages. These were finished, sanded down with 400 and steel wool, and finished with water locks and Johnson's paste wax. They're about 5/8 inches thick and little over 4.5 inches round.
Well, I have to tell you, Luke, that I avoid making multiples of anything. At one time I made earrings, and it would take 2 minutes to make the first one and 15 minutes to make the second one look like the first one. So I admire you for your perseverance to make all 9 coasters and 4 dowels.
Well, the thing is, I totally agree with you. The first one is always beautiful, but then getting the second one, much less the 9th one, to do that with. One of the other wood turners that I follow on Instagram had like a piece of a 1/8 or 3/16 Luan, and what I used was I cut me out a outside, if you will, a permanent gauge, so I could cut down and know exactly the diameter of each one of them. Just slid that on, and then I had another piece that had a notch in the middle and around the lip of the edges. So I would cut it down to where the second gauge would reach the bottom of the notch, and then the pencil mark on my story stick or gauge is how I ended up doing all this repetition. And actually, using those aids, I was pretty well pleased with the way they all turned out to be very similar.
No, that's well done, and they're well sanded, and the finish is nice too. That's a good job. I think
I'm really surprised that it's red cedar. It doesn't look like red cedar.
Yeah, must be the heartwood.
Go back, yeah, go back another, yeah, yes, it's all heart.
Yeah. All right. Now that's nicely done. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, and we are going to have to kind of move tonight because we got a bunch here. So Jim.
Okay, well, this is the ones I did last week. The well, 2 in the middle are ones I showed last week. The third one I had last week, the hat broke while I was painting, so I didn't finish it. So this was just to show you the painted snowman, and anyhow, it makes a big difference in what they look like.
No, that's
right. So Jim, did you turn then carve? Is that what you did with those?
Yeah, and That's what this one's showing. This is
Okay,
after turning with no carving.
okay.
And last week, somebody asked me how you made the hat go to the side,
Yeah,
like how you make this, the one in the middle. You just leave a big hunk on top, and then I take a wood chisel and knock most of it away with a wood chisel, or sometimes I use a saw to saw away some of it to get rid of the bulk of the top, and then you just carve a little where it turns over. But I did find out this time that positioning that hat on, anyhow, I would turn the blank round, or mostly round, and then turn it off axis, and in the shadows of when you turn it off axis, you'll see a V in the shadow, and if you put the hat right in that V, that the hat and the top of the head match up with each other fairly well.
Yeah, that's the thought. No, I'm glad you showed us the finished product, because you can really see that the effects of the texture on the carving and stuff. It really gives it a very nice effect.
Very nice.
Yep.
And like the turnings, I left fairly rough because I didn't care about the surface, because I
Right.
knew I was gonna at least take a chip off of the whole surface, because otherwise you can't, it'd be really, it would look bad if you just carved part of it and left what was
Right.
the right place uncarved, because the texture would just be totally wrong.
Hey, Jim, on the uncarved picture, the fuzzy part underneath the hat looks like hair to me coming out of the hat.
Looks like air.
Hair.
Hair.
Oh, hair. Well, that fuzzy part is, I don't know why I knocked them off a lot of times, but anyhow, there's a certain area you can't turn, because when you turn it one way, it's there, and you can't get to it because the hat's in the way.
Yeah.
When you turn it back straight.
Yeah, I think you should leave it. And
Well, it's in the front. It's where it's at is in the face.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was on the back.
The hat
Okay.
tips up. So,
Big bangs.
but it's not quite bangs either. So
Yeah.
They look really good.
Yeah. No, nicely done.
thank you.
All right, Reed.
Good day, gentlemen. Or do I have to hit something so I can talk?
Nope. No, we can hear you.
Hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. I like to do little Christmas tops. Trying to do something where the grandkids and special people gets a certain color of a top, and trying to work on my skew chisel a little bit more. But it's a two-part. You can see the Purple Heart as the handle, and then the base, the round part, is cherry. And so I have a lot of lumber people give me. So what I try to do is make use of the lumber. So the stem is actually from just a 4/4 board, and then the base is also 4/4.
It's nice. Again, somebody making multiples. I guess these don't have to match though, so that's good.
Actually, I'm in full agreement with what your comment was. None of my stuff looks like the other one.
Yeah. I'd never make it as a baluster turner.
Yeah.
That's nice. So what do you do with them after you make them?
Again, 5 grandkids, other people that are very special, I just give them to them at Christmas, which is more or less the ones that are in the background. And then the ones up front, I have people who want to buy them. So I sell them.
Yeah, that's nice.
Does the point of the top, is that the
Purple Heart.
heart through the disc? So it's 2 parts
Oh,
of the.
excuse me. You actually take the stem the Purple Heart, and you rough it down to a round. And then if you look up under the cherry, you'll see that that's about 5/8 of an inch, or just under a half probably. And so the cherry is actually slid up onto and glued in place right there. And then you come back and you actually turn it as one piece.
Okay,
Great.
good.
Idea for, like you said, for 4-quarter lumber. I hadn't thought of things like that.
And then also I love, I forget who actually showed me, taking a piece of copper wire and putting some handles on it and burning the little design into it. So I try to do that too.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, this is what I believe is maple. Had a tree was taken down at the end of my street, and I stopped by, and the tree cutter company there was there, and they chopped up. This was a huge tree. It's probably 2.5 feet across, and they had cut it into chunks because they were taking these chunks and going to throw them on their truck. They were very happy to throw them on my truck. And I got 3 or 4 pieces, but it has some beautiful grain.
Mhm.
It has this cross rays in it. The spalting is it's partly a mistake actually, because when I rough turn the bowl, I put them in a plastic container with a lid on it, and I shouldn't have put the lid on the container because they had the wood chips there, but the moisture didn't escape. It stayed in there, and I think that caused some of the spalting because I ended up with mold. This one has a real nice bark inclusion that I filled with dyed epoxy, but it didn't fill all the holes. And when I was doing the final turning, I decided I would leave all those voids in there. So it looks pretty good that way.
Yeah.
And it's, the walls on this thing are about 3/16 of an inch thick.
That's nice. Looks nicely finished. And so if you don't know, you could always just say it's neighbor wood.
Oh, I like that. I like that term.
Yeah.
I've got quite a bit of neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've visited tree cutters, and I actually tell the tree cutter how I want it cut, and
Right.
they're very good at cutting it up, and I always slip them some money when they do it, so it gives them a little extra incentive to help me.
Right. My only comment on this, and it may be just to be distortion on the photo here, but there's a pretty sharp transition between the sides and the bottom, and I don't know. To me that would be a better form if it was a little more rounded, if it went gradually into that. But it's hard to tell from the
Yeah, looking at the actual bowl, it doesn't seem to have too sharp an edge on it.
right.
But yeah, my forms, my bowls all come out interesting. You know, never two quite the same. So
Right.
trying to get the shape of the bowl is really tough for me to sometimes to get a good idea of where my proper shape should be.
Right.
So
Well, it's just,
I struggle with that.
yeah, it's just personal preference for me. Is I like that a nice a smoother transition in. But yeah, the inside looks fine. You don't see that corner in the inside, so
Oh, okay.
that's good. All right, this is yours too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm starting my Christmas ornaments, and this is one of my first attempts to. I've practiced making some round objects. These aren't perfectly round by any stretch, but I also did hollowing. internal. This actually, no, this one I saw a YouTube video. I did another one that was out of later on, but I'm practicing using the skew on doing the finials,
Right.
and it's, yeah, I use a small spindle gouge and a skew, and I'm getting better at it, but I got a long way to go.
Right.
Pretty.
Nice. Where'd you get that stand, by the way?
I actually got it, I believe, at Hobby Lobby, and I had to ask them if they had a stand for an ornament, and he was able to locate one for me. It was and it was a little fancier than that. I actually cut some of the swirls off it to make it simpler.
Right.
And it's because I needed something to do the photography.
Right. No, that's interesting. It's nice. One of the people that makes ornaments, and I can't remember who it was, actually said, don't make the globe part of it a sphere, make it, oval shaped.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was that said that, but somebody who's made thousands of these said, yes, try to stay away from the sphere, because if you miss it just a little bit, it becomes very obvious.
Yeah.
And but if you just don't try to do that
Right.
is what
I
they.
think that was Alan Leland that said that.
Yep.
Yeah, it could have been. I know I've heard it. I just can't remember who said it. But
I think this is Jim. Alan actually says that the top and a part of the top and part of the bobbin should make the round. So you should include I don't think it's the whole top, but like the first ring or whatever of that.
Right.
If you make that part of it, if that makes the round, then it looks right. That's
Right.
what I think he said.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess I have a ways to go, but these were fun, and I'm making them to give out as Christmas presents to friends. So they can't complain because they're free.
Right.
Well, I mean, it looks good. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
But
I'm just saying
and-
that's
and-
what Alan said.
And the wood that I used here was offcuts from cutting the bowls that I had done. That same bowl I just showed you. This is actually from the same. It was just an offcut that was big enough. It was like 3 inches square,
Right.
and maybe like 10 or 12 inches long, and I could get a couple, 2 or 3 of these certain balls there out of them.
All right.
But it was really interesting trying to learn how to hollow them out without getting so thin. The first few, I ended up with multiple pieces as I misjudged the how thin to go, and so I'm still working. But by the time I did, I think the 6th one, I was kind of getting the idea.
John Lucas uses a sharpened Allen wrench mounted in a wooden dowel to hollow out his ornaments. So
You mean like one of these? That's an Allen wrench that's sharpened.
Yep. So you already got it. All right.
I got that. That really works good for getting that tight portion right there at your entry hole.
Right.
Because that's the hardest part to get to, and that Allen wrench works great for that. And that's about all I use the Allen wrench for. I've got another small hollowing tool I use that gets most of the rest of it.
All right. Nicely done.
Mhm.
Jeff. Are you on mute, Jeff? I can't see my participant list here. Did he leave? Oh, Jeff, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Hit the space bar.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, well, I'll send you a condolence card maybe. My youngest son's mother-in-law found this piece of cedar with this huge chunk missing, inclusion, whatever it was. Sent it down to me, and she's getting it back as a turned vase. Fun to do, lots of bouncing and shaking, but I managed to pull it off. Put what, 6, 7 coats of lacquer to get some gloss out of it, and lots of breathing protection while you do it.
Yep, that's nice.
Um,
I
You
would
know,
take those. I would take those little fuzzies off there. Is that
that's
fuzzies
what
there on the bark there on the right in the middle of the front there?
Yeah, there's a few little fuzzies in there, but sometimes discretion is the better part of valor.
All
You
right.
know,
I'll take-
the inclusion you see to the left goes real deep, and that kind of limited the wall thickness.
Right.
You know, I mean, sooner or later those things will blow up. So there's where I quit and started lacquering.
Yeah, I wouldn't turn them off. I would just knock them off. But these little things right here.
Yeah, I see.
Yep.
Yeah, they may get cut off tomorrow with a pair of scissors.
Oh yeah, or just a emery board or something. But
Yep.
no, it's a nice shape. Yeah, the fact you've managed to keep that all together and it didn't fly apart on you with that hole in the left side there. That's well done. What'd you finish it with?
About 6 coats. Well, gotta think. Put the shellac sanding sealer on, kiss sanded it, and then I want to say 6 coats of smooth coat gloss lacquer.
Okay. Nice. She'll be happy.
Well, it's too big for her to stick in a drawer, so she's stuck leaving it out.
All right. Terry.
Okay, that's just that's cherry, just a little trinket bowl. It's just under 5.5 inches diameter and 1.5 inches tall. And it was practice to try to get a nice OG curve inside and outside for me.
Right. Yeah, that's nice. What do you use for finish?
That has wipe on poly,
Okay. No, that's nice.
2 or 3 coats.
That's nice.
So yeah, just small playing around.
Right. Well, I think you got the OG.
I like it. I was gonna see if other people liked it also.
It's great.
Good.
It looks like there's a little. Is that just a reflection there, or is it a smooth curve?
reflection. I tried to undercut the rim just slightly,
Right.
and it picked up that reflection there when I was taking
Okay.
it.
All right. Because you know how I feel about corners.
Yes.
No, that's nice.
Okay, and this is a pyrography practice piece, basically. It's just 2 pieces of 1x12 pine glued together, so you can kind of see the ring there where they're glued together on the inside. And then I just made a plate out of it, and I did 24 segments, and did different Zentangle designs on each of the segments to practice my pyrography. It is not finished.
Oh, it's very nice.
So I got
Very nice.
How
I
did
got
you mark off
a
the segment?
Coalwood detailer pyrography thing, and this is my first attempt to do something with it.
How
Nice.
did you mark off the segments?
I just used my lathe. I found the middle of the piece, and then I used the tool rest and indexing on my lathe to mark off the 24 segments.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's nice. I'm amazed you got that finish on that pine. It looks pretty
Well,
smooth.
I was amazed too, because this thing has been sitting around glued together for about 3 or 4 years. It was something I did when I first started turning and never got to it because I got a lot of other wood. So it just got thrown on the shelf and when I got the pyrography thing, I figured I could do it with this. And it cut amazingly clean. I had
Oh.
really nice shavings coming off the pine and stuff. So yeah, I was amazed.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I'll
it looks
probably
great.
finish
Looks
it this
great. The
summer,
pyrography looks great too.
but I
Yeah.
haven't decided what. Thank you, Ted.
All right. Nicely done. Somebody with more patience than me.
Yeah, it probably took about an hour to draw the designs and then probably 2 hours to burn them.
Right. I like the way you put the grooves on the inside and outside to define the I always like, it kind of gives it definition. It makes it look a lot less haphazard that way.
Yeah, I did those, while I was turning it first
Right.
to kind of to define the area. And then I kept trying to decide whether I wanted to try to burn those or not burn those. And I decided in the end not to burn those.
Right. No, looks good.
Did you use a piece of laminate to make them dark?
To do
The shadow.
the inside the circles or the
No, the of the band, the inside and outside groove that you cut. Did you use something on the lathe to?
no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Preston, I think that's a shadow on the left side there because on the right side you don't see it.
Oh yeah. Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
I had pretty strong light, so I'm still working on my photography.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need John back for another session.
Well, the background is the thing he recommended, so I bought one of those. It goes from white to dark gray. So
Right.
that's the background behind it. I started using that, but I still haven't gotten my light quite right.
Right. Well, it looks good.
It does.
Thank you.
All right, Bob.
Oh, well, a couple of years ago, I had a neighbor who took down a large red bud. I didn't think they got that big. And I got several gorgeous pieces out of it. And I had these two 7-inch half logs from a branch actually sitting on a bench for several years and decided to see if I could play with them. And most of the value in this is just the fantastic wood graining and the retained bark inclusions. There's a gorgeous bark inclusion on this one that you just don't see. Maybe, yeah, there on the bottom, on the right side. I like the patterns in the green in the wood. It's kind of fun to mess around with unusual stuff. These are about 6 inches in diameter.
Yeah, that's the grain is quite dramatic.
Yeah, well, this picture makes it look like it's warped, and it's not. It's a dead flat top across.
Right. Some pretty good cracks in the pith, though. Surprised that stayed together.
Well, it's all been filled with super glue and finely ground coffee.
Right. All right. And then you tried it, you glutton for punishment, you tried it again.
You got it. You got it. This one is actually the other half of the same piece. I thought it came out pretty well. There's the one obvious big crack, same thing, filled with finely ground coffee and CA, and they're both just finished with a couple of coats of tongue oil.
Right. Yeah, it's got some pretty amazing grain. All right. So what'd you fill this crack with? Was that like same coffee grounds?
That's it. Yep.
Okay. I mean, the only thing that strikes me in this one, Bob, is that I would try, I think gonna have to hand sand it, but try to get those
I
scratches there.
just saw that.
Yeah. And you can see them kind of creeping up on this side too, but that's the problem with these natural edge wing, because that's where you can't get it with your drill sander. You just have to go in there and sand those out by hand. But once you put the finish on, those things just kind of jump out.
Well, I think that's what happened.
Yep. So, all right. Stefan. You there? We can't hear you if you're talking, Stefan. You're muted, or maybe he went away.
It's a beautiful.
No, he's still there.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right.
No.
So this is a maple bowl. It's sanded to 400, obviously ambrosia maple, and a calabash shape. It's 13.5 inches, so it's moderate to large. But the reason I'm showing it is on the next image. It is mostly maple colored everywhere, but there is this area here, kind of inhomogeneous, that has this yellowish tinge to it. And I wondered what it is and what to do about it. And Stephen suggested this is fungal stain, mold, and it may well be that. I wondered whether it may have been some of the sealer cell, not the sealer cell, the anchor seal
yeah.
that could have discolored it. This is a piece that Alan Leland brought into the club, and he gave it away about 2 years ago. So I don't quite know what he uses for sealing. I assumed it was anchor seal, but may not be. Any thoughts what you all think, other than Stephen, what this might be? And then secondly, what to do about it?
Looks like a dog peed on it to me.
It smells like it too, so that might be.
My first thought is it looks like the wood might have sucked up a little iron oxide out of the soil. And what to do? Try a little Clorox.
Iron, what did you say? You think it's what? Iron?
Iron oxide, also called red clay. It comes anywhere from dark blue red to bright yellow, depending on exact structure. I won't bore you with details, but wipe it with a little Clorox. That usually takes stuff out real nicely.
And is that a chemical that gets sucked up into the tree through a sapwood, or because it rested on the ground and it's diffusion into the wood?
Probably sucked up in.
Okay.
So
anybody else?
So I did look at. I had my can of anchor seal out this afternoon, seal up some slabs, and they on the lid it does say may cause discoloration. I have just never found it to do that to maple, so that's why I mentioned that. But it's certainly possible. I mean, you could try it. You could take some and put it on. As a matter of fact, I sealed some maple today. I'll I'll watch it. But if Clorox doesn't work, you may just try wood bleach.
Yeah.
But as I said in my email to you, the problem with wood bleach is that it'll bleach it. It'll make that maple lighter, but then you may see where you bleached it. So
yeah,
it's hard to.
I've not seen anchor seal generate a yellow color. It usually winds up dark colored and brownish to me, but what do I know?
Well, the other thing is that the reason I mentioned that it may be fungal is that on the Woodturners Worldwide Symposium a month or so ago, one of the speakers was this woman in Washington State who is a PhD professor in wood issue. But anyway, she gave a seminar on spalting, and yellow was one of the colors that a certain fungus generates, and what the sample she showed looked a lot like this. So, I mean, they actually seed wood in order to make this happen. So, so that was why I thought it might have been, if that was the end that it was laying on the ground. Like I said, it could be either something that was absorbed from the soil itself or a fungus. It's hard to know, but I just haven't seen anchor seal do that.
I think it adds to it.
Yeah.
Well, how deep is the discoloration? Do you have enough wood? Can you just take a little more off?
Not really, and I didn't pay too much attention when I turned off the outer layer of the bowl, how thick the yellowness was. I'll look on the inside and see whether it's through to the inside. I'll study it a little bit more. The bowl is not finished inside. It's still, there's some thickness to it, and I have not sanded it in the middle, so I don't know, or in the inside, so I don't know what it looks like on the inside.
It's a beautiful bowl, though.
This is Richard.
Thank you.
Any whitening agent you try and do, if you try and put it on with a rag or a brush or anything, it's going to leave some kind of ring or splotch. I would have a tendency, whether oxalic acid or wood bleach or a Clorox, I would want to airbrush it on just very, very lightly, so that it only hits the affected area. And if it does start to turn a little bit too white, you haven't added enough chemical to cause a problem.
Richard, excuse me, the term airbrush, what does that mean?
That's like when you have you're spraying a dye or something on coloring. Instead of using the dye, you use your whitening agent instead. So you're just trying to spray it on like from an aerosol can.
An airbrush is a very precise little sprayer that
Well, you can broaden it out.
Yeah.
You can do a wide spray on it, but you just want to very carefully put that on, or you're going to have just a blotch where it's just gets white.
An airbrush is something you go to Home Depot, they sell airbrushes.
Hobby Lobby,
Okay.
one of those places will have an airbrush.
Okay. Good.
All right. So I one more question. Did you notice this did you turn this wet and then let it sit and then come back and finish it?
I rough turned it, and then actually, so that's a good point. So I rough turned it, and then I coated it with anchor seal at that point, and I left it for 1.5 years or so, and then I fine tuned it, and only upon fine tuning did I see that. But I must say, when I rough turned it, I didn't pay that much attention, or if I did, I forgot over the last 1.5 years. So I don't know how long it's been there.
So you seal that moisture in again. I mean, you can grow fungus inside a rough turn bowl, particularly if you anchor seal it. So, but give it, just take another piece of maple and try some bleach on it and see the effect on it, and try it out. So,
Is it just on the one? Is it just on the one side, Stefan?
Excuse me?
Is it just on the one side? The other
Yeah,
side?
it's very odd how it's only on this area. Yes, the other one is the majority of it is completely free, about 85%.
Yeah, because I noticed that side grain right there. So, but it was only on that side grain piece that it did that.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Well, what do you conclude from that, Ted?
Well, to Steve's point, you're probably retaining a little bit more in a thin wall like that. The end grain's going to evaporate quicker than the side grain will. And so it's possible that it did have some type of fungus that, grew in there on that. What kind of finish are you planning to put on it? Because maybe you should consider something where it'll blend it, more so. If you don't want to try the bleach, if you try it on another piece of wood and it doesn't work out for you, maybe you could try an amber or something, type finish on it.
Okay. That's a good idea.
If I may last comment on that, if you had turned it rough and then you anchor sealed it, when you came back to it, that's the side that the least wood was removed from because of the way they distort, right? So I think it's likely that a little bit deeper, you wouldn't find that there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Very reasonable.
I have one more comment as I sit here and listen and think. We took down a maple in my backyard. I turned a shallow bowl out of it. I wound up with some yellow spots like we're looking at there. And I put Clorox on it and the whole thing turned a dark reddish brown in a split second. And I sanded and sanded and sanded to get rid of that mess. That's why my original comment, maybe it was yellow iron oxide. And if you do decide to put some Clorox on that part, do it in an inconspicuous spot first and be sure it isn't going to turn the whole business kind of reddish brown on you.
Yeah.
All right,
No.
let's, we do need to move on here. We got quite a
Yeah.
few more, so hope that
yeah,
helped
this-
you out, Stefan.
This is just a quick image. This is a little white oak vessel. Nothing special. I just like the shape. I saw that on some images on the web. So I'm making them and I'm turning them completely to finish while they're wet. So they distort some, which actually can give it a very nice appearance. This one stayed pretty much the way it is, except the opening, which you don't see here. What I like about it, it's a small piece. And on the next image, Stephen, you see what kind of branches I used. I just picked them up in a forest. And if you go back to the vessel itself, so the pith didn't crack, you don't see that, but I'm surprised and happy that the pith did not crack, so it all stayed intact. It's oak, and I like the shape of it, the roundishness at the bottom. I like the color up above, the iron, the different brownish tones of it. I like how this spike on the left-hand side goes into the sapwood and gives it structure. And I also found it interesting when I sanded it, when it was still wet and the final shape, it was completely smooth. And as it dries, the rays, the tangential or the radial rays poke out some. So it gives it the structure that I think you may be able to see on the right-hand side, that the rays protrude some.
Right.
And I found that just an interesting development when it dried.
Yeah, interesting texture. So.
And that's it with that one.
All right. Well, thank
Nice.
you. Nice. Oops. Wait. Hold on. I skipped one here. All right, Preston.
Hey, thank you. Steve, I want to apologize. I'm one of the culprits about the too many pictures and too big, probably.
Okay.
They got duplicated somehow in the email. I was trying a new way to do it. I realized I shouldn't do it anymore. But anyway.
All good.
This is it's about the size of a hockey puck, about 3 inches in diameter by 1 inch tall. And it's you can buy these metal opener parts in different places. Rockler has them, and I think I found some on Amazon as well. And I put a small rare earth magnet in the top right. I'm sorry, the top left. That holds the bottle cap in. You open it. And you know, it's easy to use any kind of wood you have or offcuts for this. I think the next picture is sort of the how-to.
Actually, I didn't put them in, Preston. We
Okay.
just due to the size of it.
Sure. Well, you can see here, what I did is I took a Forstner bit and made the shallow opening for the metal, and then I took a smaller Forstner bit and made the smaller opening, and the face of it has a tenon on it when you start working on the bottom side, and then you can use expansion jaws the small opening and finish the top. So it's got quite a I think it's sort of cool.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice
Function
little,
bar. Yep.
yep, nice little thing to stick on the top of your bar.
Yeah. And then these are some, of course, birdhouse ornaments. And I used the same wood that somebody else had. The tops are made out of red bud, and it's got really cool grain and wide grain, and it's, the heartwood is darker than the sapwood, and I was able to keep some of the bark on them. I think it's a walnut and cedar and then ash, the bases.
All right. That's done.
One thing I had trouble with was keeping the birds to stay on the perch, and I used a little grinder tool to make an indention there where it was the same size as the perch, where I could actually put some glue on there to keep them from coming off.
Nice. Thank you.
Right.
Rita, are you there? I know they were trying to cover 2 different meetings tonight, so let's see if Rita is on.
Jim is there, but
Jim, I got Rita's piece up there. Is she around?
Hold on, that's Rita.
Yep. I know you're covering 2 meetings here.
You got it.
Last month, last meeting, someone was doing pot pourries. Norm, I believe, was doing the pot pourri little
yes.
best bowls that he was making. And these are also to hold pot pourri. The cover comes off and you put in lavender or other incense and smelly things, and it goes hanging in your closet or in some area, but it's made just similar to a birdhouse, actually.
How tall is that, Rita?
I'm sorry?
How tall is it?
8 inches.
It's about 8 inches, and it's about 2.5 or 3 inches across.
Okay. All right.
How does the lid screw off?
The lid fits on just like you would fit on if you were making a box. So it comes off and the string goes, there's a little string with a hook and a hook inside the finial, and the finial goes up and is glued onto the bottom, and then a string goes up through the whole thing and on through the cover, so that you can just pull the cover off and it's not,
I see.
and then put it back on.
Yeah, very clever.
That's nice. Nicely done.
Actually, I can't take credit for it. Actually, this was an example of this was in the Wood Turning magazine. That's a British publication. My husband accused me of not being able to follow directions. So I said, okay, I'm going to make this little potpourri thing. So I have made 10 of them so far.
Well, I have to tell you that whenever you drill the number of holes in a hollow form, any discontinuities in the wall thickness become very obvious. So from what we can see, it looks pretty good. So nicely done.
She's doing a nice job. She's really getting good.
Now, Jim, now we know where you get your talent from.
Oh, yeah, you got it. I said the only problem with having her in the shop is she hides the tools.
Oh. All right. Norm is not here, so we're going to skip this one. But I did want to mention this. God, he left his wallet out there. So one of Norm's former students from the class he taught asked him if he wanted some cherry. And they dropped all these pieces off at his house, and he just doesn't have any use for them. If anybody wants them, any cherry, it's fresh, it's not sealed, so it's not going to last too long. But if anybody wants any, just go ahead and call him or text him.
Oh.
Right? Hey, Jim Duxbury, could you mute your thanks. All right. If anybody does want anything there, just either contact Norm or if you there's any questions, contact me. All right, Ted.
Yeah, these are little wing bowls, or that I think there's another photo here. Isn't the next one on this? Yeah, there you go. So that just shows a bunch of them, and the other one was just a specific one. So these are little wing bowls or candle holders that I've made out of lot like the wood, some of the wood that Steve just showed, but usually smaller branches, about 6 inches across. And you can see on the left-hand side, there's a couple of them that are forked pieces, crotch pieces. And those come out really nice when you make them. And some of them, I just make them flat on like a tray on the one side, but then on the bottom side of it, you can see that I have a candle holder in there. And I also use that to turn the piece. So I start out just drilling with a Forstner bit on the front of it or the top side of it, chuck it in the chuck, turn the back side, and then I turn this, or I can drill a Forstner bit on the bottom side, and then I can spin it around and put it back in the same chuck again and turn the top side. And you can see I make sometimes bowls out of them. Sometimes I just drill more candle holders in the top side, or I just leave them flat. And you can make these relatively quick, and they're quite attractive. The wood really comes out. There's some beautiful designs in the wood and so forth that you get out of it, and all the inclusions in it. People really like them a lot. So they're a good thing for a gift.
What kind of wood is this, Ted?
That one's dyed. I
Okay.
just had that one shot of it, but that was a piece of poplar, and I didn't like the wood very much, and I was just doing it because it was there. And then when I finished, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try some dye on this one, and I'll come back and show you that one. I just dyed it just before I took this shot, and I haven't put any finish on it yet. And I actually redid the side of it because I had it black and I didn't like it. So I wire brushed it and put a blue dye on it, and it looks really cool now. But yeah, so these are fun to make and good for gifts, or you could sell them. And you can make them once you start doing it. You can make them in half an hour, maybe an hour. Finish sanding them and everything. Of course, you don't sand them when you're turning them. They're very dangerous. I'll say that. The wings of these things they're like a razor out there on the end. So when you're turning, you got to be really careful. And then when you're done, I sand that end piece right away so that I don't, because I've cut myself on them, quite a few times, because they're pretty sharp on it. But any branch you have, like like a corner piece of a branch, where it has a bend in it, works really nice because it gives you a curve to it. But I have lots of branches, they split, and it's like, what am I going to do with this thing? It's beautiful wood. I just cut them on the bandsaw along the split and make these pieces out of them.
Yep, that's nice.
And are these green when you're turning them, or are they dried, or?
Both, yeah. But you can turn them green because it really doesn't make any difference. And the bowl ones are a little bit thicker, but these other ones, they only end up maybe a half an inch or so thick at the base, and on the end it's real thin. And if they warp, it really doesn't matter much.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, this is real nice.
Yeah, then go to the next picture on this one too, Steve, and we'll come back to this one. So these are napkin rings, and since we're all kind of stuck at home for so long and can't get with family very much, I have a large family back in Michigan, and so I decided, since I couldn't go back there for Thanksgiving or anything, that I'd make them something for the dinner table. So I thought I'd make these napkin ring holders for each one of them and send them back. So the set of 8. I got kind of carried away with it. I made 16 sets of them of 8 in each set. And then, yeah, if you go back now, Steve, you can see a little bit more of the detail here. So each one of them is unique. To Steve's earlier comment, you know, don't try to make them the same because they'll never come out. And so I do a little bit something different on each one. And then on some of these, I put some embellishments and so forth on them. And I do this, you know, I use a piece about 2 inch square by 12 inches long and turn that round and then just mark these off. And then I use a Forstner bit to go up through the middle of them. And I'm creating a video on this, and I'll have it up on YouTube, maybe yet before the weekend's over. So if you're interested in it, you can look on YouTube for Ted's Turnings, and it should be up there.
Nicely done. That's amazing. That's a lot of napkin rings.
Yeah, it was fun though.
All right, Dan.
Yeah, that one's mine. It's a piece of persimmon. Someone gave me a couple of pieces of it, and I turned those. It had a void in it. You can see I filled that with turquoise, and on both of them, they both had small voids. But what interested me was that black outline is just the natural coloring, and it happened on both of the bowls I turned. So really gives a unique look to the stone.
Mm-hmm.
So is this two different bowls, or is this the same bowl?
Same bowl.
Okay.
That hole went all the way through on part of it.
Okay. Yeah, persimmon's interesting.
Where'd you get the persimmon?
Somebody gave it to me.
I don't think that grows around here, does it?
It does. I actually had some that I put some persimmon in the raffle a while back that someone had given me. Distorts like crazy.
It grows around here all over.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
But it turns well. The one thing I found is when it dries, I get that darker look to it. It's almost like a staining in it.
Right. And it distorts like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to leave enough thickness in order to get down to, because it's wild.
So that was with an epoxy, Dan, or is that CA in the stone, or what? Sorry,
And the stone.
Yeah.
Putting the stone in, I use CA to hold that crushed stone in.
Is it real turquoise or the?
Like I think Craft Supply is where I ordered that.
Right.
I get the crushed stone, and then I also get a packet of the powder.
Right.
So I'll put the stone in, work in as much as I can, hold it with thin CA so it leaves the voids, and then I'll come back and rub the powder in, fill in the voids in.
Nice.
And this one's mine also, a potpourri. This is one of the pieces I bought at the wood sale y'all had. Piece of ambrosia maple. Turned out really nice, I thought, with the color. One of the first times I've used Trent Bosch's hollowing system, and boy, that just makes a world of difference on holding the chisels.
Is it the articulated arm or just?
Yes. Yeah. And then there's the side of it.
Well,
look at one direction. It almost looks like big smiles. But
yeah, that's a nicely figured piece of wood.
Y'all sell excellent wood there. People ought to take advantage of it.
Come spring, we got a lot more. Just cut it all up today. So,
but that's the one. I think I've turned 5 of those. I'm finishing up here at the same time. But
it's nice. I like this this little effect there.
The little ring there, yeah. Just something to add to the top.
Yep. Nicely done.
Yeah, you outdid Norm.
Yeah. Nice. It's just different. This isn't a competition, Ted.
Unfortunately, I was on the road when Norm was doing his demo last week, so I didn't get a chance to see that one.
It's on YouTube. You can go to Weekend Turner and if you want to see it on YouTube.
All right, I'll do that.
All right. Richard. You there,
Okay,
Richard?
I'm unmuted now. I just, for some reason, I like ginger jars. I was looking around through Facebook and all, and I came across someone that had some form that looked neat, so I decided to do something similar to it. This is elm that I picked up in Durham. They were cutting down a big elm tree, and I went over there, and in fact my truck is still full of elm. So I cut off a short piece of it and got this piece and the next piece. This one is just kind of what I say, it's about 4.5 inches tall by 4 inches, maybe even closer to 5 inches by 4. On this particular piece, I started out with Mike Mahoney's walnut oil and just kind of filling it to see what kind of color change it would get, because I wanted to experiment a little bit. And then I came back with the Doctor's Woodshop Pins Plus, which is similar to the 3-part, what am I trying to say, alcohol, linseed oil, and shellac, and put some around on the top just to give it a shine, and that looks pretty good. So I'll probably go ahead and finish the rest of it with the Doctor's Woodshop Pins Plus. Yeah, if we go on to the next piece, it's, like I say, the same piece of wood. I just cut off a piece and then cut it into sections. This one I wanted to try more of a short squat look from it, and I wanted to raise it off the ground, off the table, and it's kind of got a curve to it, but it's also got a bead, 16th inch bead, as a decoration, lifting it up off the table, but it's got the same type of top. And each of these the bottoms were finished with what am I trying to say? A friction fit.
Jam chuck?
Yeah, jam chuck. Right. So I took a piece of wood and cut a jam chuck and shoved it on there, put the tailstock up against it, finished as much as I could. And then I usually put a piece of tape around it to hold it to the jam chuck while I finish that last little piece in the middle, and put a couple grooves in it and then sign it.
Right.
So these are finished pieces, and they have a place sitting on top of the TV cabinet. I need to get rid of them, but I got too many turnings now. Like you say, it's but I love the color of the wood. It's turned out nice. The other side has a tendency to be darker. It's spalted a little bit, so it's not as pretty as this side. That's why I'm showing this particular side. But it all kind of looks good together. But this is a piece of local elm from Durham, North Carolina.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we got my two, and then we're gonna show a short video of something Jim Duxbury just had me mesmerized. So this is a concept piece that I did. It was just an experiment. It's probably going to end up in the trash bin because it didn't turn out. And it didn't, so I just routed these 8 circles. I was just trying to see if I could do an intertwining. This is about 12 inches in diameter. It's maple. And I routed these off the lathe just with a circle template on my router. And so I did 4 of them, filled them with the brass and liquid diamonds epoxy. And then I did, no, sorry, it was Alumilite. And then I did the next 4 with aluminum powder. And again, I'm not, what really the biggest problem is that these resins bled into the end grain of the wood, and you can see it. Certainly, you just, and the way to cure that is you put shellac on it in the grooves. And because this was just an experiment, I didn't bother doing that. But therefore, it made it not turn out very well. So, again, it was just something I was just playing with, and you can really see here that where the resin just bled in. And so
could you seal that wood or something first, Steve?
yeah, so what you do
That?
yeah, well, and I'll show you in the next one what you do on this stuff. And on all those ones I did with the router videos and stuff, if you just shellac it, you use sanding sealer in the grooves, you don't get any of that bleed out. And you can see it goes in the end grain.
Yeah.
So as you cut the groove, this is the end grain here and here, and so yeah, it just happens. But I was just trying to see how, just trying to play with the concept of these intertwined rings, how many worked, what size, if I wanted to do it, and how these the first time I've really used these metal fillers as well. So I was hoping the brass would be shinier, and the aluminum would be silver, but they're kind of dull.
How deep are they, Steve?
Well, they're the full thickness. So this was a 2-inch thick blank when I started. So I routed an 1 7/8 groove in each one of these things, and then turned the bowl. So they go clear through. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. It's a platter, so it's about 3/8 of an inch thick.
No, the reason I ask is, I don't know how strong they are, but it'd be kind of a neat way to tie something together that might have a tendency to split.
Right.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the tensile strength of this stuff is, but it would be interesting to try.
Yeah.
You could actually embed a little wire or something in there if you wanted to, make it like reinforcing rod.
In fact, one small circle over a split would tie the whole thing together. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to try. So anyway, this is a mistake. Again, it'll probably end up in the burn pile tomorrow, but I learned from it, so I'll move on. And this is a walnut platter. This is 16 inches in diameter, so it's big. I can't really appreciate the size on here, but it's about 16.5 inches. And on this one, I cut 3 eccentric grooves, and I'll show you in the next picture. But it's kind of a dark gray. This is up here in the top. This is really the color that it shows up. It's really not this translucent as it is here, but I was trying to show with the light behind it to show that it is translucent, that the grooves do go through to the bottom. And just a beautiful piece of Clara walnut. I mean, just it absolutely. And again, I picked this up. This was a piece from Mike's, scrap bin that it was an offcut from something that I salvaged. So it did have a couple of small checks in it that I worked around. I filled one of them and then just cut the rest of it off. It actually was bigger. It was about 20 inches in diameter when I started, but I just turned off some of the checks. But so this is how I cut those grooves. And again, what was nice about this one is the grooves were on the top, so I didn't have to cut down that deep. I only cut down about 1/2 inch with the router. So this is using a circle jig on my router, and I just had 3 different centers offset about 3/8 of an inch from center at 120 degrees each, and that gave me that pattern. And then So that's what the grooves look like before they were filled. And I again, with this one, I just filled all one color. I thought about doing 3 different pours with 3 different colors, but that's how that looks. So anyway, just
You mix the metal powder with the polyester before you pour it in, or you put the metal powder into the grooves and then pour the polyester on top?
so on this one, there's no metal. This is diamond cast epoxy with a little black pearl powder in it to get that. On the first one, I mixed it. There's probably 2 tablespoons of metal powder, and it's almost like a thick paste. It's not quite a thick paste, but there's a lot of metal powder in it, but it's mixed in before I pour it into the grooves. So on this one, I used sanding sealer in these grooves before I poured the epoxy in. I didn't, on the other one, I wasn't so worried because it was Alumilite, which is thicker and it sets up quick. I didn't think I'd have a problem with it. The liquid diamonds is epoxy, and it's water thin, but you don't need a pressure pot. And since this is 16 inches, it doesn't fit in my pressure pot. So I use epoxy when I have something that I can't use pressure on. But I did use sanding sealer in the grooves to seal this, so I didn't get that bleed through. And I didn't get any. If you look at the end grain here, there's nothing that bled through in it. So I was real happy with the way that turned out. And it just it's only about it's about 2 inches. Well, it's probably about 1.5 inches thick now. But I'm just real happy with this one.
It looks very nice. Good
It's
piece.
a beautiful piece of wood.
Yeah, no, it was. Oh God, I mean, I love Clara Walnut. It's really one of my favorite, and it turns so nicely, and sands so nicely. It really is a wonderful wood to work with. So,
Is Clara Walnut different to black walnut?
it is, and I can't tell you for sure what the difference is. It comes from the West Coast, I believe, but I'm not quite sure. I think it's just a different species of walnut, but I'm not quite sure. It has a good figure. You can't see it in this, but this piece actually has a very nice chatoyance in it when you look at it obliquely. So
That's the preferred wood for gun stocks if they're doing walnut gun stocks.
Looks like it.
So I will tell you just another plug for the wood sale. So Mike had a whole shed of offcuts from gun stocks in down at his shop, and I grabbed a lot of it that was decent. Some of it's got little checks on it and stuff, but there's some small bowl blanks and a lot of spindle blanks that we'll have kind of in a grab bag at the next wood sale. So
what did you finish this with?
Seal-a-cell.
Okay.
Just got one coat of Seal-a-cell, kind of flooded on till it stopped taking it, and then wiped it off, and then I just stuck it back on the lathe, hit it with Quad O. Well, no, I used a white Scotch-Brite pad on it, and then and I didn't buff it. I don't have any wax. I just put a plain cloth wheel on the Beal buffer, and just just buffed it with that. I didn't want to use the white powder on the Beal because it would get into the open grain of this walnut and make it look pretty bad. So, all right, so that's the last. I got one more to show you here, and I have to stop sharing this. Jim, do you want to set the stage for this, or do you just want me to show the video?
Oh, okay. Uh-oh. This is going to be a timing device, my version of Leonardo da Vinci's timing device. It was made back in the 1400s. This is before before Newton discovered the values of a pendulum. They didn't have anything to keep time with. So I guessed at the gearing, and I guessed at everything on here, but it seems to work. Down below are the weights. The
Can everybody see it? Am I showing the right screen here? Can you see the device here?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
The small weight is just to add tension because the cord goes around that drive, but the bigger weight, that's the critical one. And I had to experiment to get that right. The weight on the end of this little chain is a fishing sinker that they had, and the chain is a piece of Rita's old jewelry. I shouldn't say that, she's right here. Anyway.
There's no secrets in that house. I know it, Jim.
Yeah, it's a group effort, yeah. But anyway, I finally got it working, and it's kind of interesting. It doesn't do anything, but it's really fun to watch.
Is he gonna let it go?
I'm gonna let it go here.
Oh, cool.
It's not a good picture.
My videoing isn't the greatest. I don't know.
Well, that's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, really.
It runs for about 45 minutes on one wind. I could put a longer cord on, but it's made to run off a table.
Living with this guy is never a dull moment. There's always something in the brain.
Wait till you see the next one.
So Jim, how did you cut the gears?
A scroll saw.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting better. I've got a fine blade on the bandsaw. I think I could cut the next one on the bandsaw.
I was thinking a router jig on the lathe with an indexing head on it.
Yeah, I had a metal lathe, so I'd love to have that.
Tell him about the weights, how you had a melt.
Yeah, the weights. I wanted small weights, and to get the weight, I experimented with enough weight to get enough friction to size the small one, but then the big one had to make the thing work. So I hung a dolly bar on there, and that wasn't big enough, and I hung my hammer on there, and that helped out. And I had a couple pairs of pliers and stuff. Finally, I got the right weight, and it was like 5.2 pounds, I think, and the other one was 0.9 pounds. So then I needed some lead that was about that size, and I found some of my old lead and cut out the right size. But then I needed to pour some castings, and they're working on a brick house down the street. So I went down and got half a bucket of sand and made a box and made cores out of wood and put them in the sand to get the right shape and size. And the small one is about, I think it's just under an inch in diameter and about 4.5 inches long, and the big one is 2.25 inches in diameter and about 5 inches long. But Rita was out burning some limbs from a windstorm, and I took a coffee can and threw that lead in there and poured it in each one of them. Came out a gorgeous lead mold, and then made a little container. The lid comes off, so I could add more weight if I had to, but it worked out good.
And Jim, where did you find the instructions and the pictures and the history of it so that you knew how to build it?
The history, well, I love Leonardo da Vinci, and he's got all kinds of stuff. But I have a clock that's similar to this, but it's actually the design of it is out of my head. The gears are. I printed off a gear program, and I think they're 4-to-1. So with 3 sets of gears, 4 times 4, 16 times 4, 64-to-1 gear ratio on it. And then the length of the arm and everything, that was just an experiment. It took a while to get it to catch right. And, the next one, if I make the next one, it'll do something better than this.
How many hours you got into that, Jim?
Oh, if I knew that, I wouldn't do this stuff. I have a lot of hours these days. My
So
next
how-
bowl coming through is I call it a pandemic bowl because you'd only make this in a pandemic. But I probably got a couple of days in this.
That's pretty good, actually.
It,
How tall is it? How the piece that's sitting on the table, like just from a
It's about,
probably 14 inches by wide and about 8 inches deep and probably a foot tall.
okay, all right, yeah, just trying to get perspective on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's very cool, Jim. I
But thank you for showing it.
no,
I wasn't sure what I was doing with it. I'm still not good at photographing and doing videos, but
well, like I said, it's a little out of the ordinary, but I was intrigued by it, and I thought everybody here would be too. So it.
bring it in some night.
we'll bring it in some night if we ever get a meeting.
Right. Well, good. Well, that is it, folks. So Ted and I were debating whether to do this, whether we should skip December for this or not, but we decided to go ahead and do it. I think since we're all going to be cooped up here for the next, again, so December 17th is our, we'll go ahead and have our membership meeting on, the regular membership meeting on the 10th, and that will be shop tours. And then on the 17th, we'll go ahead and do another gallery. Again, I just if you can just think about when you send it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind doing the setup on this, nor does Dorm. It's just it's a rush at the last minute to try to get stuff done. So a little bit of coordination could make our lives a little bit easier. So I appreciate that. If you're interested in any of the wood the cherry that Norm had, just certainly contact him or contact me. I will also tell you that I had a woman that I sold some stuff to at a show in Cary last year contact me, and she's got a very large, probably 18 inches in diameter river birch tree in her yard that she's taking down, and asked whether we'd be interested in the wood. And she's not sure. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, it's going to come down. I do not need any more wood, but I told her I would come and take some of the more interesting pieces. There's a couple nice crotches and stuff. So when that comes out, I'll just post it to the website, and I'll have it at my house. Anybody who's interested in river, I really like turning river birch. It's usually pretty nicely figured. So if anybody's interested in that, just watch for that email and let me know.
Even what diameter?
She said it was about 18 inches, which that's a very big birch tree. But
yeah, and it's nice wood indeed.
Yeah,
it's
so
wonderful.
But I'll get everything I can put in my truck, and certainly let people know when I get it. So with that, I think we are done. Anybody have any final comments?
Just a plug for our next meeting, in case you didn't make our meeting last week. So we're going to have 2 shop tours in our next meeting. So we have videos of 2 shop tours, and then we'll be open for questions during them in a little bit, and after them as well. We'll get to see, how 2 different shops are set up, mobility and so forth for those, and placement of tools and so forth for efficiency. So it'll be pretty cool to see, and you can maybe get some ideas from it, and you may have some ideas for the shop owners as well. Which
At
is
whose shops are they?
It's a John Vaith's workshop and my own.
Terrific, thank you.
Yep.
All right, and lastly, just pay your dues, if you would. So it's really important we get this done. And it's going to be like public television. The sooner we get it done, the sooner I can stop talking about it. So,
Question on that. During the last meeting, I tried to do the dues, and it popped up a Square Pay thing, and I thought the transaction went through. But is there a way to verify, or should we get a confirmation email or anything?
I think you should get a confirmation email, but I'm not positive. And I did it, and I don't remember whether I get copies of all of them. But I can go ahead and
Yeah, you do.
Ron, I'll go ahead and check.
You do, Steve. And I'll just look back here and see here. Yeah. So I got an email back saying, from Woodturners Guild of North Carolina, thank you for your purchase and the amount, that I had purchased. So you
All right,
should have
something
received
must have
that.
glitched or something when I did it, because I looked for a couple of days and didn't see the emails.
Well, maybe check your spam too, but if you're getting the other emails, it shouldn't be, I wouldn't think it'd be in your spam folder, but maybe check that first. If you don't find anything, send an email to, if you're unsure and don't want to do it a second time. I mean, I think Dick can check to see whether you actually have done it or not.
Right. Or I get copies of them all, Ron. I'll get either I or I'll get with Bob. One of us will check and see if it's there. We'll
Okay,
let you know.
appreciate that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got the confirmation email, and also I saw it today when I was balancing the credit card. So, so that's another place you
I
can
should
look.
check that way too. That's a good.
Yeah.
You actually do that, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrible that way. Everything has to balance to the penny, or I just can't sleep at night.
Well,
All right, folks.
nice stuff tonight. So thanks, guys.
No,
Yeah.
nicely
Thank
done.
you.
And look forward to seeing everyone posting their Christmas presents next week or next month. So, but we will see you in 3 weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Hey, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.